Without any warning, I received the devastating news that my mother-in-law had passed away. Naturally, I intended to attend the funeral, but my husband shouted at me, "Don't you dare come. You got it." "What are you talking about? She's passed away. What kind of daughter-in-law wouldn't go to the funeral?" I asked, bewildered. "My mom hated you. Don't even think about showing up. You'll be a nuisance," he retorted. Although my relationship with my mother-in-law had never been close, she was still family. Not attending the funeral as her daughter-in-law would be deeply disrespectful. Ignoring my husband's harsh words, I made my way to the funeral hall, which was quite a distance away. When I arrived, I saw my husband leading the mourning rites. "Wait, what's going on here? Whose funeral is this?" I asked, confused. The truth that followed was shocking and hard to believe. "My name is Sophia. I'm 30 years old, I've been married for 3 years, and live with my husband, William. Things were great once, but not anymore. To be honest, I'm not satisfied with my married life. The main problem lies with my husband. When we got married, I became a housewife. William had proposed with the condition that I quit my job and stay home. Since I was just an office worker without any particular passion for my job, I agreed and quit, but that decision turned out to be a mistake. The first year of marriage was relatively fine, but things took a turn for the worse in our second year. I used to receive $11,000 a month for living expenses from my husband, but suddenly it was cut to $500. "Look, William, making ends meet with just $500 is impossible." "Why?" I asked. "I'm covering the rent. All you have to worry about is utilities and groceries, right?" he responded. "Even for basic household items, $500 isn't enough, especially when you factor in utilities and food," I argued. "You're the one who's supposed to make it work, aren't you? You're living on my income. Figure it out," he snapped. "I can't," I started, but he interrupted. In the end, he wouldn't compromise, so I had no choice but to make do with $500. No matter how hard I tried, it was just not enough. My husband eats more than the average person, making it even harder. After a year of living off my savings, I watched the balance steadily decline. With no income, every time I checked the balance, the number kept getting smaller and smaller. This filled me with a bottomless sense of dread. What will happen to me when this account hits zero? $500 is just not enough, no matter how hard I try. William shows no signs of increasing the household budget. What am I to do? That's when I decided it was time to go back to work. Even if I could only find a part-time job, I could make between $800 to $900 a month. The extra income would certainly make life easier. That night, when I approached my husband with the idea, he visibly recoiled. "Work? You can't be serious." "No way," he scoffed. "Why not? It would give us more breathing room. If life is tough, it's because you're bad at budgeting. It's your fault," I shot back. "I've done all I can. Life is still hard. That's why I've been considering other options," I said, trying to stay calm. "Playing the victim, huh? You can live because of me." "How did you even say that?" he sneered. His dismissive tone fueled my growing rage. Before I knew it, I was shouting louder than I ever imagined. "Enough is enough. You're the one who wanted me to be a housewife," I yelled. "Since when does yelling solve anything? I just want you to understand. How can anyone make ends meet with just $500? I pleaded. "Shut up. Stop blaming others. Think of something else, you loser," he spat, shoving me aside as he stormed out of the living room. I fell to the floor, tears flowing uncontrollably. Why is this happening? All I wanted was a peaceful married life. I always felt the need to talk to someone about my worries, but my parents live far away, and it's not easy to visit them. I couldn't keep silent anymore, so I initiated a discussion. On the other hand, my in-laws live only an hour away by car. However, my husband doesn't seem to get along with them, so we've had no contact since we got married. Talking to my in-laws is pretty much out of the question. After getting married, I moved closer to my husband's workplace, making it difficult and expensive to meet up with my former coworkers. As for my friends back home, well, I can only imagine what they'd say if I tried to meet up. So here I was, living in fear of my own husband. Then things started to change. Recently, my husband has been spending less time at home. He started working late and going on business trips more often, which meant he was rarely home for dinner. If he's not eating at home, there's no need to stock up on a lot of groceries. This means I don't have to buy groceries in bulk, which helps me get by on the $500 he gives me each month. Also, I've started working from home and now make about $700 a month. I've started enjoying a more independent lifestyle, especially when he's not around, and it's been going on for about a year now. Recently, my husband has been too busy with work to come home much, but when he does, he treats me terribly and shouts insults. Lately, he hasn't even been giving me any money for living expenses. Then one day, something unexpected happened. When my husband came home from work, he seemed really rattled. Without missing a beat, he blurted out, "My mom is dead." "Wait, what? Are you joking?" I asked, stunned. "Why would I lie about something like this?" he yelled. "But your mom was still young. I'll go to the funeral the day after tomorrow," I said. "Alone. You stay here," he insisted. I was taken aback by his unexpected words and blurted out, "What? What do you mean? Why would you go alone to your mother's funeral? She's my mom, so I should be the one to go." "You don't need to come," he replied. "Wait a minute, that's ridiculous. She's my mother-in-law too, you know," I argued. "That doesn't matter. I'm enough for my mom's funeral," he said firmly. "Are you serious? I can't understand your reasoning," I said, my frustration growing. His impatience was clear as he said, "Just don't come to the funeral." "Got it. What are you talking about? What kind of daughter-in-law doesn't attend her mother-in-law's funeral?" I asked. "Enough. Mom hated you, okay? Just don't show up," he said sharply. "My mother-in-law hated me?" I asked, stunned. "Yes, exactly. Even if you did come, it wouldn't make any difference. My deceased mom wouldn't be happy to see you there," he said. "I can't believe this," I said, feeling the sharp pain in my chest as the harsh reality hit me. Seeing my reaction, my husband sighed in frustration. "Enough already. If mom hated you, dad feels the same. Your presence would just make everyone uncomfortable," he said. "Fine. I get it. Just stop," I said, feeling defeated. "You better. All right, don't come to the funeral," he said. Under pressure from my husband, all I could do was nod. 2 days later, early in the morning, he busily got ready and quickly donned his morning clothes. As he went to the bathroom, I picked up his discarded pajamas and noticed his phone left open on the table. It seemed he was looking up directions to today's venue, which was about a 40-minute drive from home. Something felt off. The directions didn't lead to William's family home. In fact, it would take at least an hour and a half to reach his parents' house from there. Why would they choose a location so far away? Lost in these thoughts, my husband returned from adjusting his hair. I quickly retreated, pajamas in hand, making sure he didn't see that I had discovered his phone. He announced, "I'm leaving," and walked out the door. Uneasy, I decided to follow him in my morning clothes. When I arrived at the venue, I was shocked. The place was filled with unfamiliar faces, and my husband was at the front, giving a speech as the chief mourner. "Thank you all for gathering here today in honor of my wife," William said, tears in his eyes as he pretended to grieve. Normally, I would have confronted him immediately, but the solemn atmosphere made it difficult. Just then, I overheard a conversation between some women sitting behind me. "Did you hear? The chief mourner is divorced." "Really? He seems so steady." "Yeah, his previous wife was quite a handful. Apparently, she left him with a massive debt." "A debt? That's troubling." "Yeah, she left him with the divorce papers and walked out. He met his current wife soon after, even knowing she was sick and wouldn't live long. They married because they were in love." "So, it's a love story, huh?" My anger surged as I overheard this conversation. The story had been twisted beyond recognition. I needed to confront William again. Checking our records, I confirmed that our divorce had been finalized about 6 months ago. My husband must have met his now sick wife shortly after and married her. His frequent absences from home made sense now. He was living a newlywed life with her. Fury consumed me as I realized he had removed me from the family register and married someone else behind my back. Enough was enough. I needed to confront him and seek justice. With revenge in mind, I hailed a taxi and directed the driver to my mother-in-law's place, relying on my memory to get us there. When we arrived, I rang the doorbell. My mother-in-law appeared with a cheerful, "Hello." Her eyes widened as she saw me. "Oh my, Sophia, is that you? It's been a long time." "Mother-in-law, you look well." "You look good too, Sophia. What brings you here?" "I came unannounced, but there's something urgent I need to discuss with you." "Something you need to tell me?" "Yes, actually." I recounted everything. how my husband had mistreated me, how I was left struggling with living expenses, and the fact that he had divorced me. As I spoke, tears welled up and I began to sob. My mother-in-law gently rubbed my back, offering comfort. Sophia, I'm so sorry for everything you've been through. Please forgive my foolish son, my mother-in-law said, her voice filled with regret. It's okay. I should apologize for showing up and bringing this up, I replied. Why didn't you come to me sooner? She asked. William told me you didn't like me, I said. What? He told me you didn't like me. Wait, what? That's when it hit me. My mother-in-law and I had been deliberately kept apart. My husband must have thought it would be problematic if she and I got along, especially if it interfered with his plans. Meanwhile, he'd likely sought financial help from his family multiple times, blaming me for all their issues. Sophie is sick and needs money. She can't work, so we're struggling. Please help her, and so on. I was neither sick nor unable to work. It was just a lie William had spun. Now that I knew the truth, I felt empowered. I shared my plan for revenge with my mother-in-law and then returned to the funeral. Although it had ended, a few people were still lingering. I approached one of them. Excuse me, do you know where the deceased's family lives? I missed the funeral, but I'd like to bring some flowers later. Feigning acquaintance, I managed to get the address of my husband's mistress's family home. The next day, I took some funeral flowers and went to their place. When I rang the doorbell, a woman who looked deeply worn, likely from the grief of losing her daughter, answered. She was probably the mistress's mother. I introduced myself as a friend and was invited inside. Once led to the room with the family altar, I saw my husband there. Sophia, what are you doing here? My husband's eyes widened as he quickly covered his mouth. The father of the mistress asked, William, what's going on? I decided it was time to reveal everything. I'm sorry for deceiving you. I am this man's ex-wife. Ex-wife? Why are you here? The father asked, clearly confused. Both your daughter and I were deceived by this man. I found out just yesterday at Riley's funeral that I was officially divorced, I explained. What? What does that mean? He asked, bewildered. He told me it was my mother-in-law's funeral and instructed me not to come. I had a suspicion something was off, so I followed him and discovered it was actually the funeral of his new wife. What's the meaning of this, William? Explain yourself, Riley's father demanded, his voice shaking with anger. William's face turned pale as he looked down, unable to meet his accuser's gaze. The room, once filled with mourning, was now charged with tension. Riley's father's face turned beet red, and he began to tremble with rage. I took this moment to make my final move. The doorbell rang, and Riley's mother went to answer it. She returned moments later with my mother-in-law in tow. Mom. William's face was drenched in sweat, and he looked visibly shaken. My mother-in-law didn't waste any time. Causing trouble for others? What do you think you're doing? Pay back the money you borrowed from us right now, and don't you dare blame Sophia, she said firmly. Wait, Mom, this isn't the time to. You owe an apology to Sophia, that woman, and even your parents right here and now. Do you understand the gravity of what you've done? Declaring me dead and removing Sophia from the family registry. That's the height of disrespect. Mom, can we talk about this later? This isn't the place. This is exactly the right place. It would be unfair to the other woman and your parents if I didn't speak up now. I'm here to make sure everyone knows exactly what kind of person you are. Riley's father seized William by the collar and shouted, Are you kidding me? William, clearly terrified, broke down in tears. It turned out that William had lied to Riley's father about needing money for Riley and had borrowed from him under false pretenses. During questioning, it was revealed that William had gambled away all the money. As a result, he was expelled from Riley's house and faced legal consequences. Ignoring William's tearful pleas, I turned my back with my mother-in-law and began to walk away. Just then, a desperate voice called out from behind. Wait. I turned around slowly. Sophia, I'm really sorry. Can we start over? Excuse me, I asked, taken aback. If you don't help me, I'll be sued, he pleaded. Don't worry, I plan to sue you too, I said firmly. What? Yes, I had made up my mind. After enduring all the unjust treatment and receiving false divorce papers, I was prepared to take legal action against him. Please forgive me, William begged. Fuming, I let him have it. Do you think saying sorry will fix everything? Do you even understand what you've done? Filing for divorce without informing me is a serious legal issue. Your apologies are meaningless after all the lies and the financial exploitation. They're utterly worthless. Sophia, wait, please. Quiet. Do you have any idea how many people you've hurt with your actions? What you've done can't be easily forgiven. Not even a lifetime of atonement will be enough. So from now on, stay out of my life. If you dare show up again, I won't hesitate to destroy you. As I spoke assertively, my mother-in-law's hand gently rested on my back, her warmth nearly bringing me to tears. In the aftermath, William was forced to repay the $10,000 he borrowed from Riley's father in a lump sum. On top of that, he was required to pay me alimony and a fine for forgery. His modest salary took a severe hit, and he had to go into debt to cover the alimony payments. The financial strain led to collection calls at his workplace, and it's only a matter of time before he loses his job. As for me, I returned to my previous job right after the divorce. I now live in an apartment close to work and am enjoying a peaceful and fulfilling life. Since then, I've been regularly meeting with my mother-in-law, and we've been keeping each other updated on our lives. Our relationship has deepened significantly since the divorce. My mother-in-law, who stood by me through everything, has become like a second mother to me, and I plan to cherish her deeply from now on.